All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results positive or not.
To the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the body alchemist Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome back and a happy Friday to all of you out there. We've got a wonderful podcast for you today. Now, social media is a continuing and growing phenomenon. It's not even a phenomenon now. It's just a part of the way that we live our lives. I mean, you can find out everything within a matter of moments, from the type of sandwich that your favorite star is eating to the type of situations and political environments are going on in other countries. Social media has changed much of how we live this world. And social media itself is changing. Many of you may or may not be familiar with live streaming. Oh, if you have Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen that mysterious little red button in the corner or played around with it, to try to see what it's like. But there are many individuals who live stream and have become very, very successful. They are the new entrepreneurs of this world, the new media stars. And they're coming with so much information. And you might have seen your children and teenagers be influenced by these individuals as well. But with all of the positives can come some negatives. There's a link between social media and depression, as well as suicide. What are the mental health implications where it comes to these new platforms that we're using? Well, today we have a special guest that's going to talk about what you should be aware of and explain a little bit more about the live streaming platform and just what it's all about, why so many people are getting involved. We're going to be joined by Callie Cartel, one of live streaming's fastest rising stars, and she has come here to our podcast graciously to drop some jewels on us. So please stick around. What's going on, everybody? It's Philly's #1 son. Listen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you how to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a stunning podcast in one place. So listen, if you want to be like me and have your own podcast, go to anchor.com. That's anchor.com.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit podcast.
360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. That is the De La Fit podcast. Welcome back, everybody. A few years ago, actually 21 to be exact, a movie came out that changed how we would look at television and media. That was The Truman Show. Jim Carrey in his iconic portrayal of a young man who was essentially taken from his parents and lived his entire life on screen for the entertainment of the viewing public. Well, Many of you millennials out there might be like, what the heck is that movie? You might have to Google it. But this was the segue into much of what we see now. After that came a plethora of reality-based shows, starting with MTV's Real World, and then NBC and ABC taking over shows such as Survivor, The Bachelorette, and many, many more. The funny thing about this is that as this progressed, it changed into so many more versions of this movie. Now, live streaming is common with many platforms such as Live Me, TikTok, Twitter, even Instagram has a live version. Everybody is doing the live streaming thing. And I know you're probably thinking right now, well, what does that have to do with health? Your holistic fitness health show. How is it that all this ties in? Well, many of these influencers, many of the things that we see right now, many of our children are interested in these streaming sites. In fact, one of the most successful streamers started out from YouTube, Miss Lily Sang from out of Toronto, Canada. She is now the host of her own nightly show, and she has streamed, and many others are becoming very popular starting from YouTube. But what about the now extremely live streaming audience? Well, guess what? I have somebody here with me who's going to talk about this, some things that you should consider if you're going to be live streaming, as well as some things for you to consider if you have children and teenagers in your life that you love, that you want to look out for when it comes to this streaming phenomenon. I have with me Miss Callie Cartel. Callie, how are you doing today?
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me just to be able to express myself and let everyone else know about how big live streaming has become in this world, and just making people more like in tune with mental health and what it means to people is such a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for even letting viewers hear this, because it's important. I really, really feel how important it is, especially for the younger generation, because they really have no clue how it's blowing up.
For those of you listening in right now, Callie is what I consider a very extraordinary individual. She is one of the individuals who helped basically mentor me when it came to the live stream element. Now, when I first got into it, it was kind of like I saw it. I didn't really understand it. It was kind of like FaceTime on steroids. And I was like, okay. And I got into it just enough to learn a little bit so I could do this podcast. But I came back because I wanted to open up my listening audience. And I was fortunate enough to meet Callie. And she broke down some important rules to streaming and how different it is from a recorded podcast. So before we get into this, Callie, give us some background on yourself. How did you get into the whole live streaming world?
Well, I can really say it all started even before smartphones existed, because I found a website online called Tiny Chat. And this website was so huge that they would have millions, thousands of people all over the world going live from their computer. Back then, we had to buy a webcam. If people don't know about a webcam, you had to have your own individual camera and plug it in, and just so people could see you. A lot of people didn't even have laptops. They were stuck with the computer at the desktop and still making use of it, just like MySpace, Black Planet. It was just a way for people to interact, where interactive streaming became just so popular because a lot of people were living a life where they became so sheltered. It gave people a chance to live again with communication, because people started to realize communication was something that a lot of people were lacking on, because we became so afraid with all the things that have been happening in the world and the images that were being portrayed in the media. So after that, I ended up stopping for a while, and then I found another live streaming website in 2017. And from then, I started to really see that this was such a bigger corporation, a bigger business. because these people now were offering cryptocurrency connected to these websites. So it made me start to understand the bigger picture, that this is a business on top of people having fun and relaxing and making and creating their own show. Because everybody was creating their own entire brand to become bigger in this world. So that's, like you were saying earlier, a lot of famous people started live streaming first. If it wasn't Facebook Live, Instagram Live, it was something where the world could see them on a platform for free.
So I've been in your streams. I've seen how you run your show, run your program. I want to ask you this. Why are people so intrigued by live streaming now? What is it that has everybody, aside from the normal accoutrements of staring at their cell phones, what is it that gets people so intrigued about this?
I feel live streaming became like a daily soap opera, but you can be involved. So it's a different vibration for the people because they feel they're a part of something. It's like you're watching a story, but you could change the story even by saying one thing. So a lot of people started to realize this is really fun and this is interesting because these are real people, not paid actors. And TV just started to kind of fall apart. A lot of shows were getting canceled or not making it for another season, or the writers were all quitting because they weren't getting paid enough. So a lot of these platforms took advantage, in a sense, of good people that have the skills and taught them even more skills to put themselves out there to meet more people and build a brand. Because now they're an entertainer. They're not just a broadcaster or a person pressing a button. They're an entertainer, which means they will get paid.
So in a sense now that it's interactive television, it's almost become just like the Truman Show.
Yes, it is. And it is. I remember someone telling me that so long ago. It is exactly like the Truman Show, except you are aware that you're in it. Where Truman wasn't. Studio didn't tell Truman. They kept him in the dark. Everybody else around him knew. Where it's like reversed for us. See, a lot of people will join these websites and they don't understand the bigger picture because they're thinking, oh, no one's looking at me. But this is a big business like Hollywood. There's always someone watching you or someone scouting or looking for someone with potential or want to network and build. So it's one of those things where you could use it really as a tool if you do understand how it works.
And I greatly appreciate you when you taught me that, because again, when I first got into it, I really didn't understand what it was. And when you come into something like that, you get caught up in the shenanigans and the buffooneries that can take place.
Right.
What is your point of view where it comes to social media and its, or rather social media, streaming, and its connection to our mental health?
Well, first of all, I must say, is when a lot of people start getting into the live streaming, they don't realize that the live itself has the same energy like a casino. So while you're online, you don't really become aware of how much time you just sat there for, because time will go by so fast, especially when you're distracted. So it can become time consuming, which if you're putting all your time into one thing and you're not gaining anything out of it, it could become very stressful. Where you see a lot of people putting in a lot of money into investing in themselves and they may not make it to the level that they want. So those type of things can control the body, influence thoughts, make people start acting with strange behavior patterns because they're not thinking for themselves. They're thinking about what everybody else thinks of them. They're so busy trying to impress and please. They can't focus on what their true intention was when they originally joined sometimes. It's like they get caught up. But there's a lot of people that get how it works and they could avoid it. because they understand the algorithm of the website itself, because all these live streaming websites are set up a certain way where if you're talking about a certain topic, certain people that are interested in that topic will pop up in your broadcast because the website is pushing them towards you.
You're a seasoned vet. I mean, you're on a bunch of different streaming sites. I know right now on one of the sites that you're particularly on, you have 12K fans. Talk to us about a little bit of some of those demands, like you're saying, as a broadcaster or a live streamer. Talk to us about like an average stream. What's it like?
Okay, so a good way to kind of break it down for the people, just so they could have like a way of imagining to understand a little bit easier. To be a broadcaster, let's just say this. It's like working for the Disney Channel, but you adult Disney. You can't smoke on camera. It's just like the weather woman or the man working as a news anchor. You can't be smoking. You can't be drinking. You can't be distracted. Everything on that camera, you are advertising and selling. Every little thing, down to what you're wearing from head to toe, the books you're reading, the book on your desk, the drink on your desk, everything is an ad that you're advertising. So you have to know that in order to really make moves and be successful. Because the more you can convince these companies that you have value, the more they will put in work towards you and help you get closer to your goals. Because these apps are scouting agents for all these other companies. So when iHeartRadio and all these different places are looking for new talent, they come to these type of websites to look for the talent. But the people have to be willing to put their talent out there and want to be seen. Because nowadays, a lot of people don't want to show their face. They're scared. They're scared for people to know what they're thinking. So it's a way to help build up people's self-esteem, make them stronger again, communicate, even learn English or other languages that they may have not picked up later in their life. It's just a communication thing that brings people really together.
I've watched how you've always handled your streams, and I've always admired it because you've always had a nice balance of being able to keep the whole interactive vibe going, and at the same time being able to, like you say, control the vibe of the energy that's flowing.
Right. Because it's the same way, like as if you're working at any TV network, except one man will be doing 20 people's job. One man will be holding the camera, the mic, the lights. He'll be the bouncer controlling the crowd all at once. And with a smile on the face, like, welcome to McDonald's. What would you like with your meal? Like that type of vibration. That's what a broadcaster really does.
I'm glad you explained that, because I feel like also some of our older listeners who will tune in, they're going to be like, oh, this is what my child or my teen is doing when they're on their phone, or this is, it's kind of explaining that next wave of industry and career.
Yes, because right now, even with Twitch Nation, like Twitch is one of the biggest live streaming platforms for gamers. And now gamers do want to see what people look like when they're playing. They don't just want to watch the game anymore. They want to see the reaction. They want to see when you're frustrated from when you're happy. They want to see the good to the bad, because it's a story. And everybody loves a good story.
Like you said, there's finance when it comes to this big business. So yeah. A successful live streamer, what can they make? Just give me an example.
To be honest, I've seen people make approximately from 2,000 to, let's say, 5,000 a month.
And that's in just the streaming.
And that's just with streaming. I've also seen people be offered apartments, homes to live in to be streamed. Like they are giving people homes.
Wow.
So they could be seen. So they could continue to work, continue to be seen. They're giving people cars so they can continue to drive and go live. That's to show people how much they invested in this new way of showing people life. You can meet someone in China and in the UK and in Canada and America all at the same time in less than 10 minutes. There's nothing else that will offer you that. Nothing.
So it's bringing the world closer together. And not only that, now being paid to do it as well. It sounds like it's one big ball of amazement and good times. But
right? But there's also a dark side.
Let's talk about that dark side. It's something we've talked about off air. Trolling.
Right.
Explain to people out there who aren't familiar with this industry, this world, what trolling is. They might be familiar with it from an entertainer standpoint of like a Kevin Hart or somebody. But what is trolling?
Now, trolling is basically another word for stalker. And it's stalker vibrations and stalker vibes. A lot of the people don't realize they're doing it until it's too late, because they've been doing it for so long and no one corrected their behavior that they think it's normal. Now, with someone who really wants to troll, it's like harassment. Like they want to be seen. It's an attention seeker. And it's just an internet slang word that we use. But a lot of kids, a lot of adults are so familiar with these terminologies. They know what the titles mean.
So is it bullying online or is it just harassment? Break down some of the things.
It could be all around between bullying, harassment. Some people even get paid to troll just to push you offline.
Whoa, wait. Did you say people get paid to troll?
Yes, you have companies that pay people to harass people to leave the websites. Because if those people leave, that bank account of money that they made is just going to sit there and be reused. So people don't really understand how big of a business it is. It's just like a casino that will discourage one of their players that was just at the table to leave by offering a distraction in the room.
So it's a bigger thing. It's a method to air all the madness.
Yes, especially knowing anywhere that offers money is temptation. And some people are so caught up in wanting money so bad and wanting to reach that next level. That's why they like to use the word like and level and things like that to lead your mind a certain direction. It is mild brainwashing to a sense.
Let me ask you this. Like I said, you are a seasoned vet. Have you had your own experiences with trolling?
Yes, I have.
Can you break down, and I know, again, we've talked about this off the air, but for the individuals out there, give them a small glimpse in your life of examples of this, how serious it can be.
Well, when I first encountered my first troll, like the first person who really wanted to put me through this, they already knew who I was or studied me before I even met them. Like they were watching me from a distance. And I didn't even know because I was new to a platform. Now they told me, hey, and they use the word sis, sister. Because these people in the beginning, when they approach you, they will use like simple words or words that you feel more a little comfortable with. They'll use these things to kind of rope you in, just like any other predator. Then once they get what they want from you, it becomes like an obsession for them. Like they enjoy it. Like they got what they wanted and they enjoy it and they want to continue it because they're feeding off of the people's energy. They're feeding off of the fact that they're turning people into victims and hurting them or trying to break them down or push them into depression. And that's where mental health really does come in, because a lot of people do become sick if they're not really together mentally.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the De La Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Hey, you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
They can lose it. So my experience with this person was, here's somebody that's making thousands and thousands of dollars off of lying to people. And now they're harassing me. It was really hard. And they were influencing people around me to not talk to me. So that became like depressing. So it made me realize these people feed off of power and control.
It touched deeper, am I correct? Was there depression? I'm asking these questions just for somebody who is not in the computer world. As amazing as that might sound.
Yes, of course. Depression, because when I first met the person, they approached me as a friend, as somebody that is a nice person. They didn't approach me as I'm crazy. They approached me like they were normal and they want to just say hi to me and wish me well and help me grow. But they had no intentions to help me grow. They were plotting for me, like basically like the same vibrations like a human trafficker online.
When did you start to notice that it was going from friendly interactions to something different?
When people were all coming to me and saying negative things about the person, because people can't hold their tongue. So when a lot of people see you with somebody that took advantage of them, they will be vocal about it. So that was like the first sign something isn't right, because why all these people saying all these bad things about you? And then after that, it was like red flags when I seen their behavior pattern and the things that they like to talk about, their content. Are you really helping people, or is your real true agenda to break people down? And this person lived to break people down. Like, they enjoyed it. They found it funny. So after seeing that, I tried to distance myself. Immediately when I distanced myself, that made them angry. They wanted me to just be around them, not anyone else. That's what trolls like to do. They like to suffocate people and hold them hostage.
But at the same time, there's no physical in a reaction. So how was that person able to stress you?
Because when you build attachment to, let's just say, a website, a platform, or using some type of app to communicate, and you spent money and invested on top of that, and the person's constantly making fake accounts over and over again, saying all these cruel, evil things or personal things about you in a room full of people, that causes embarrassment. Embarrassment brings anger and stress. And
Gotcha.
Some people can't handle that. Some can, and they can laugh it off, but some can't, and they will cry.
How are you able to have the strength, the mental strength to withstand some of the things you've dealt with? Because I've been in, again, some of your broadcasts, I've seen some of the trolling. I've seen a lot of the positives and how you keep it flowing and the laughs and all the good things. But I've seen and heard some very negative comments. I've seen it in chat. I've seen how people will come in on if you'll invite them into a conversation. And for those of you who know some platforms, you can even have people, certain of your followers, coming on as guests. I've seen guests come on and masquerade and then take a sudden turn, and it can be very, very negative. How did you become and develop the strength? Because when I say, and this is to all the listeners out there, Callie broke this down scientifically with principles. These are principles I follow to this day whenever I have live streams. There's a list. How did you develop this specific list? How did you get the strength, this mental fortitude?
To be honest, I feel it came over time of just starting to understand human behavior and patterns. Like, it really started to connect together, because genuine good people, they don't have time to do this type of stuff. But people who are bored, they do, because they're bored. Most of the people that do this type of behavior are usually broken, not living, not working, hungry, rent not paid, desperate for money.
So in a sense, they have their own...
They have their own demons that they are fighting themselves.
Got you.
Or even trying to escape losing a family member, death, things like that. They're looking an escape. But so is the other person that's trying to be there entertaining.
There's a new review of several studies by the Canadian Medical Association journal, which, Callie, I think you and I, that's a personal laugh right there, because for everybody out there, Callie is actually from Toronto, Canada. Yeah. And you know why I'm laughing, Callie, because Callie has developed this brand of Cali Cartel. Most people, I even thought it, because you're so laid back when I talk to you, that you were from California. And this is one of the biggest personal laughs that we can have, because many individuals are like, well, you're not from California? I could have swore you're so chill. But right. This actual study came from, again, the Canadian Medical Association journal. It shows the potential harmful impact of social media use on teenagers. And when we say social media, we're going to add in platforms, streaming platforms as well, because it's social. So social media use is linked to mental distress, self-harm, suicide. More than 2 hours of social media use a day is associated with higher rates of depression, suicidal thoughts in young girls. As a parent, how do we protect our youth from the negative effects of the digital world can have on them? Callie, how do we protect ourselves? How do we protect the people that we love?
In my perception of what I've seen, especially in the recent news with a lot of people hearing about artists that are dying through posting social media pictures and links, I more feel parents need to talk to their kids and learn these things with the kids, because a lot of people want to hide from it and back away from it, and that's not going to fix the problem. We need to understand the platforms that we're really on, because a lot of people join websites, but they don't read what these policies are talking about and how the website even really works. We have to do more research in what we're using, because these major companies will just be putting our info out there without really letting us know. That's what they're doing, is putting out our address, our GPS location, timestamp, all these things that can get people killed, hurt, or put in a vulnerable situation. And not just, like you were saying, not just the women, also the men and the young ladies and the young men that are growing up today. Like, we have to face it. Social media is media now.
Could you repeat that, Callie? I want that to sink into everybody.
we are at a new level, especially within 2020, where everything is through the internet. Social media is now the media. So back in the 80s and the 90s, we had to depend on waiting till 6 o'clock to hear the news. Not no more. Everything is 24 hours a day, non-stop. You will even learn other people's time zones and get to know their schedules. And you might even want to be living in their time zones within your own country. So that just shows you how much influence social media has had over our lives in the past 10 years and about to be more.
Callie, you and I have had some really deep discussions about a lot of different things. And you know how I feel when it comes to humans' ability to blame things. Individuals will say the issues are like, we'll take an example of gun violence. People say like, we need to get rid of the guns. This drug problems. We need to get rid of all these specific drugs. And not to say that we shouldn't get rid of certain drugs. Hey, you know how I stand on certain topics, and some of my listeners do as well. But what I'm saying is that we seem to like, as human beings, to place blame on things very easily. Is social media the problem, or is it humanity's inability to balance itself really the problem?
I truly feel it's a balance of both, because when you have certain images constantly pushed in your face, it can take control. It can manifest into reality, where we've seen it when people ended up joining the army, and you had that famous painting. I think that's Abraham Lincoln, where he's pointing and saying he wants you, and people really felt like he was pointing at them, wanting them for real, but it was just a painting.
Oh, that's the Uncle Sam. That's Uncle Sam. Yeah, that's different. Yeah. Don't get angry out there, people.
Yeah. So from I seen all of that, like imaging and imagery, that is very important. Especially repetition, very important. Why we sing our national anthem every morning, every day, at the same time, all over the world.
I don't think they do that here anymore. I don't know. I was homeschooled. I don't even know if they do that here in the United States. They used to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't even know if they do that anymore.
Here they still do.
Okay.
Yeah, they still do. They still have to sing "O Canada." And it's like, depending on if you're a certain religion and you say you're not interested, they'll be okay with it. But if you're not singing anything at all, you're singing like everybody else. But nowadays with social media, a lot of people are just following the crowd. So they see one person doing something, you're going to have over 1,000 to 10,000 people trying to repeat it.
Callie, give me, or give the listeners rather, what do you want them to take away from this interview? What do you want them to understand when it comes to social media and streaming platforms? There's something that you would love for them to take away and really understand the rest of their lives, whether it's they're going to get involved in social media, streaming, or they know something that they can definitely take away and be like, I know this.
I would say I would really want people to know that no matter how they looked or how they are, everybody has a fan base or somebody that's going to like them. They themselves are a brand. It doesn't matter if they're rich or if they're poor. They can still build a fan base and become a brand. And a lot of people are starting to notice and realize and capitalizing on this opportunity to make more opportunities for their community, their family, their friends, things like that. So one thing I would think that's my biggest thing, is people really understanding that all of this is the future and you can't run away from it. You have to embrace it. Well, that's the only way you're going to survive it, because it's taken over so far and so much that this is what all people will soon be doing. At one point, you might not even see a concert again. That concert will be live streamed, because these artists are going to be too afraid to get shot on stage. after the amount of gun violence they've been seeing now and all the fear they've been installing. They're going to start changing everything. So now I want people to think outside the box and really put themselves out there if they're trying to build a corporation, a business, do comedy, entertainment, music, health and fitness. It doesn't matter. I just would really love them to put a face to the name and get it out there instead of just sitting in the back saying, I wish I could. And they have the opportunity right there in their hands for free.
One thing I definitely, again, have learned from you, Callie, is that whole business acumen. Like you, for everybody listening, I have very few people I can talk to who are go-getters. All right. And it's not no knock on friends and things like that. It's just a different type of mentality, with the exception of my older brother, and a few others who I will not mention because they're just like, don't mention me. Callie is one of the few individuals that we talk about things like this. We throw ideas back and forth, and the drive that I see that she, or I should say you, have when it comes to the brand, creating something. That's also what we do and talk about here. We talk about it all from that holistic standpoint of fitness, because fitness is not just lifting weights. It's mental, it's spiritual, it's financial. So you also here to talk about the mental aspects as well as getting into the entrepreneurial aspects. And I said that correctly today, y'all. So y'all can't troll me. Y'all be trolling me talking about the fact you don't know how to say words. Well, guess what? I can say that today. That whole aspect, I think, is greatly important. Callie, you have a podcast, the Truthful Podcast. Please talk a little bit about your podcast and what is it about?
Well, the Truthful Podcast is really just a platform where I wanted to bring people together from all different places, all different ages, all different races. Every Wednesdays, 6 p.m. We're now on Spotify, so we're trying to just expand. But I really wanted to bring people together so they could be honest about what they're going through, what's their experiences, what they may see. Because that type of energy with a lot of people coming together, it does beautiful things. It's very healing. And people are so afraid to talk to people nowadays, especially in a world where people are so judgmental. So I like to kind of introduce like-minded individuals to other like-minded individuals, especially people who want to build together and get things out there and done. It's just a good look, a good feeling. A lot of people come through and they enjoy it. So I continue because I feel like, wow, so much people invested in it. Why stop now? We have no choice but to go forward and make it grow. And it's growing. So I'm happy that I brought that to the table, because to me, that's rebuilding a community. When I say community, it doesn't mean the people that live in my neighborhood. It means all the people that think the same way. We want to stay alive for these kids and build for our families. That's a community. So all it needs is some love and some water and nurture. That's it. And that's what we're doing. So if you're available, download Live Me. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Come around. My name's Callie Cartel. Or you can find me on Instagram at Truthful Podcast. And my email is at truthfulpodcast@gmail.com. And also my Twitter as well.
And don't forget that Spotify.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I'm going to put the link in.
Callie, I will say that I appreciate what you're doing, because I actually was watching another podcast and they were talking about, it was a man who was interviewing members of the Ku Klux Klan. And this is a man of African descent. And people were asking, why are you doing this? And he said that we have to start having the difficult conversations if we're going to grow as a nation.
Everything you said was correct. We need to understand.
And I truly feel this is what you're doing with your podcast. Everybody, if you don't know Cali Cartel, I'm telling you right now, you will know Cali Cartel within the next 1 to 2 years. I have seen so much growth from what she's doing. Her following is growing, and she, like I said, she's at 13K right now on followers on one platform, and she's got a mass of followers on other platforms. So I'm telling you right now, for me, this is an exciting time, because not only is this a wonderful individual to get to know, but seeing her broadcast, seeing the things she's doing, hearing her podcast, and knowing that she is going to be the next person that I'm going to see on a New York billboard. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have put that out there. I'm sorry, Cal. I didn't mean to do that to you. She like, confidentialities, man. My bad. But just know y'all about to see and hear her on a vastly larger level. All right. I mean, the level is large now, but she's really giving me kind of like an eye opening, and you're hearing her now. All right. But I'll say is there's some amazing things. All right.
Just yes. Yes.
Right. So thank you so much, Callie, for your time and energy and coming to the broadcast.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah. Truly appreciate it. Love to everyone and blessings.
I'd like to thank Callie for coming to the broadcast, sharing her information, and giving us much needed insight on the live streaming platforms and some of the things that can take place if you're not careful, if you're not strong enough, if you're not aware of much of how the internet or the social media live streaming world works. It's interesting to think about how things have changed in the last 20 years. So much has changed. At one point, it was a worry about what could take place to the child, or as a teen, or as a grown individual out in the streets, depending on where you lived. Now, dangers can take place while you're sitting directly in front of your cell phone. As Callie said, it is increasingly important for us to now understand that it's not about running away and locking up technology. It's now getting to truly understand the devices that is in our hands, as well as understanding ourselves. Because it's only until we build up the mental fortification that is needed can we truly use these wonderful tools to their full and utmost possibilities. As always, thank you for tuning into the De La Fit podcast. If you have any questions, if you would like to reach out to us, if you want to contact us about being a guest or possibly bringing up a topic, you can always reach us here at www.delafitpodcast.com, or you can email us at delafit13@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook at De La Fit Podcast, and we're on Instagram at DE_LA_Fit Podcast. As always, thank you. Please always remember to love yourself, because if you love yourself correctly, you'll definitely love others. Be safe and have a wonderful, peaceful day.
You've been listening to the De La Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.